I have seen Angela Rayner's ginger growler. She was in charge of signage, and because she's working class, we haven't quite spelt it correctly. Is Chancellor Rachel Reeves' ceramic bobhead, hair by Lego, dress by Lord Ali, fresh from kissed armour shitter, and heating provided by the taxpayer. It's my pleasure to be here at conference. Together, we collective endeavour. Thank you.
Have you ever made a promise you couldn't keep? Now imagine doing that on national television, with millions watching. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. That's the situation Angela Rayner found herself in, facing off against Katie Hopkins. But as Rayner's housing promise unraveled, a bigger question emerged. What does this mean for Labour's credibility? Angela Rayner's bold declaration to build 1.5 million homes sent shockwaves through the Labour Party and beyond. Initially, her promise was met with enthusiasm, painting her as a rising star with grand visions for solving the UK's housing crisis. Supporters lauded her ambition, seeing it as a decisive step towards addressing a pressing national issue. However, the honeymoon period was short-lived. Industry experts and political opponents quickly began to raise eyebrows. How feasible was this massive undertaking? The UK construction industry, already grappling with significant challenges, seemed ill-equipped to handle such a mammoth task.
We'll know somebody at the moment who is trapped either in rented accommodation or they're in, substandard accommodation or they're in temporary accommodation because we don't have the social housing we need in this country.
Well, yes, you say you want decent homes for everybody, but you're the one that decided that Labour Lords should vote against the government's nutrient neutrality plans, which they claim would have seen 100,000 new homes built.
To get round the table to make that happen, we put an amendment down which could have delivered on the programme. The government weren't listening. We don't believe that you have to wreck our environment to deliver the homes. We can do both of those things.
A shortage of skilled labour, heavy reliance on imports, and skyrocketing material costs all pointed to potential roadblocks. The technical challenges of Rayner's plan became increasingly apparent. Local councils, expected to shoulder much of the responsibility for delivering these homes, were already stretched thin. Underfunded and overworked, they lacked the resources to suddenly ramp up housing production on such a grand scale. Critics argued that Rayner's promise, while well-intentioned, failed to account for these on-the-ground realities. As skepticism mounted, the stark reality of the UK's current housing crisis came into sharper focus. Families languishing on waiting lists for social housing served as a poignant reminder of the system's failures. Resources seemed to be allocated elsewhere, leaving many to question the effectiveness of Labour's housing strategy. Was Rayner's promise a realistic solution or simply political posturing? The first cracks in Rayner's defense began to show during interviews and public appearances. She struggled to provide concrete details on how exactly her ambitious plan would be implemented. When pressed on funding sources or timelines, her responses often lacked substance. This fueled a growing perception that she might be out of touch with the complexities of the issue at hand. As pressure mounted, Rayner's composure began to slip. Her once confident demeanour gave way to defensiveness and evasion. Political opponents seized on these moments of weakness, amplifying their criticisms and demanding answers. A promise that was meant to solidify Rayner's position as a formidable political force was now threatening to become her Achilles' heel. With each passing day, the scrutiny intensified. Rayner found herself caught in a storm of her own making, struggling to navigate the choppy waters of public opinion and political reality. The stage was set for a showdown that would put her resolve to the ultimate test. Little did Rayner know, her toughest challenge was about to unfold on live television. Katie Hopkins, armed with skepticism and a reputation for confrontation, was poised to dismantle Rayner's housing promise piece by piece. What transpired next left audiences stunned and raise serious questions about Rayner's political future. The tension in the studio was palpable as the cameras began rolling. Viewers at home leaned in, anticipating a clash of political titans. Hopkins wasted no time, launching into an aggressive line of questioning that put Rayner immediately on the back foot. How do you build that many homes when the industry is already struggling to keep up? Hopkins demanded, her tone sharp and unyielding.
Comrades, my name is Keir Starmer, and I'm here to fuck the foundations. When I became your Prime Minister, not only did I get new hair and glasses provided by a donor who now has full access to 10 Downing Street and my bedroom, we were promised 3 things.
Keir Starmer says he's prepared to make some unpopular decisions, but beware of this, it's a sleight of hand.
Keir Starmer is frickin' fully Kim Jong-Starmer, isn't he? The Modernisation Committee will look at the advantages of outside paid engagement such as media appearances.
This opening salvo highlighted the skepticism surrounding Rayner's ambitious plan, forcing her to defend its feasibility from the get-go. As the debate progressed, Rayner's body language began to betray her growing discomfort. Her once confident posture gave way to defensive gestures, and her responses became increasingly evasive. When pressed on the specifics of her housing plan, Rayner attempted to deflect, stating, "We believe that they can deliver them." But Hopkins was having none of it, quickly countering with doubts expressed by local councils and industry experts. The climax of the confrontation arrived as Rayner visibly lost her composure. Her voice wavered, and she struggled to maintain eye contact with Hopkins. The rapid-fire questioning had clearly overwhelmed her, and she seemed unable to effectively defend her position. This moment of vulnerability was broadcast to millions, potentially damaging her credibility in an instant. In the aftermath of the debate, public and media reactions were swift and largely critical. Commentators questioned Rayner's ability to lead on such a crucial issue as housing, with many suggesting that her performance could have long-lasting implications for Labour's credibility. The confrontation with Hopkins had exposed not just the flaws in Rayner's housing promise, but also raised doubts about her readiness for high-level political leadership. As the dust settled, a broader conversation began to emerge. How would this setback affect Labour's overall strategy under Keir Starmer's leadership? Could Rayner recover from such a public stumble, or had her political star begun to fade? The repercussions of this single television appearance threatened to ripple through the entire party, leaving Labour to grapple with questions of competence and reliability in the eyes of the voting public. The fallout from Rayner's housing promise controversy has far-reaching implications for Labour. It's exposed a dangerous gap between political ambition and practical reality, leaving the party's credibility in question. Can Labour regain public trust after such a high-profile misstep? More importantly, how will this shape future housing policy proposals? Political analysts predict a more cautious approach from Labour moving forward. There's a growing call for realistic, achievable targets, prioritise the needs of British families over grandiose promises. But in a housing crisis that demands bold action, how can politicians strike the right balance? The Rayner debacle serves as a stark reminder of the tightrope politicians must walk. Ambitious visions can inspire hope, but without a solid foundation in reality, they risk crumbling under scrutiny. As the dust settles, one question lingers. In the pursuit of votes, have our leaders lost sight of what's truly achievable?